Hello, image bearers. Thank you so much for tuning in again. Before we start, I'll do a little prayer because who doesn't need a prayer every day? All right, Heavenly Father, creator of heaven and earth, we thank you so much for the people that are tuning in here. We pray for the people that are here, for Allie, our guests, and the other people that are in the studio right now, Lord. We thank you, Lord, so much for them, Lord. You made each one with a gift and a message and a purpose that only you would know, Lord, and that you've brought them through. Lord, we know you are great. We know you are loving. And we just thank you for the stories that we're about to hear. Lord, you have always been with us and you always be with us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, everyone. I am super pumped. Not just also because it's the first time us doing video, so I'm real pumped about that. I curled my hair. I put
Looks
mascara
great.
on.
You look
Thank
fresh.
you.
Beautiful.
I put concealer on, and I did that from YouTube. I did some YouTube tutorials because I don't normally do the brows because otherwise I have like crazy brows. And I feel like once you have brows on, it
Yeah.
looks a little bit better.
Okay.
But yeah, so
I
now,
trust you. I mean, maybe mascara once a month. I
right?
don't know.
No, this is, I
You
mean,
look good. You look good.
this mascara is a good 5 years old, so
Yeah.
I might get like pink eye from it,
It's
but
fine. Worth it. You look great.
you know, thank you. Thank you very much. So yes, I am so excited to have you here. This is Allie. Allie, step up to the mic. Tell us about yourself. Do like a job interview, kind of like, my
Oh,
name is
boy.
this. I'm married to so-and-so.
Okay. My name is this. Just
No,
kidding.
don't. You
My
silly
name is
Billy.
my name is Allie. I am a nurse 1 day a week, labor and delivery, and the other days of my life, I am mom to 3 kids. I have a 5-year-old and I have 2-year-old twin boys. I am married to Gareth, who is the most patient man in the whole world. he is
Right,
a saint.
our husbands, they be killing
Props to
it.
him. Shout out to Gareth.
Right?
Because
No, please do.
he is awesome. And we have an almost 10-year-old French bulldog who
Oh,
also runs the show at our house. So
is
it's
he?
a circus.
Is it a boy or a girl?
She's a girl.
She's a girl, but she
Mhm.
looks like a boy.
Yeah, lots of mistaken. We tried like the purple collars and stuff. It doesn't matter. It's fine. She's crazy
Is she
too.
real
So.
big? Like, what'd she
She's like
look
20
like?
pounds of muscle.
Okay, 20 pounds.
0% body fat. Beast. Yeah, she's awesome.
She's thick.
She also doesn't act like 10 years old because she has lots of energy.
She does
Mhm,
still?
mhm.
No, I feel like with that, though, I feel like most like bulldogs just like lay around.
Yeah, I think that may be more the English.
Oh,
bulldog.
okay.
I don't know.
You got the
Frenchie.
you got the oh yeah, you got the
Mhm.
French one. That one's so cute. That looks
They're
like an
super
alien.
cute. Yeah, smush faces.
Right?
I'm all about it.
If I wasn't allergic to dogs, I would totally be on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
My goal is in a few years to get a pig.
Yeah.
I think a pig or goats. But if I get
Yes.
goats, you have to get 2 of them because they get depressed.
Oh,
So there has to be
good
2
to
of them,
know.
right? So if you want goats, you gotta get 2 of them.
Okay, I'm about the pig life.
Right?
I don't think I can convince Gareth, but
You never know.
I mean, they're smart. They're
right?
fairly clean. I guess they get big.
That's what's holding Zach back from this.
Yeah.
Is the big pigs. But
Mhm.
but also, this is how I argue with him about it because he always brings it up.
Mhm.
People have like 100-pound dogs,
Right.
right?
What's the difference?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he also wants to keep it in.
Mhm.
I mean, no, he wants to keep it out. I want to keep
yeah.
it in
Yes.
because I want it to
a
be
pet.
like a dog.
Right.
He won't stand for that.
Oh.
He wants an outside. But then I have horrible allergies.
Right. So you're like, this is a perfect compromise.
Right? Yeah,
It'll be like a dog. Cleaner.
right?
I mean, I think they're cleaner.
Are
They're
they?
smarter.
I don't know because they do a lot of work with dirt. I know that.
Yeah.
According in the Bible, they were, real gross and stuff. So,
I'm all for it.
yeah.
I will
okay.
contribute to your pig fund, however.
Thank you. I don't need you to give me the money. I need you to just
Convince.
I need you to be on my side.
Well, if he's anything like my husband, PowerPoint presentations,
Right.
Excel spreadsheets,
Oh my God.
anything like that.
Zach would live for that, especially Excel. Like I have no clue how to do that, but if I was
Same.
to bring that to him, he'd
Mhm.
probably be impressed, and then he
Yeah.
would be.
I want a pool. And that's where I'm at right now is he's like, okay, bring me the PowerPoint presentation with the multiple company quotes. And
He
I'm like,
wants-
this seems like a lot of work.
But that's what he's like. You do
I need
the
to
work,
get my MBA first.
right?
and
But he
figure
wants
out.
you to do the work, and then
Right. I get it. But also,
Right?
I just can't.
We don't have time right now. We
No.
got the kids, but he knows that, and that's why he's prolonging it.
For sure.
He has,
He's smart.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So we will start with the random question.
Okay.
I got 2 actual random
Yep.
questions because one's mom like, one is just a funny story.
Okay.
What are you singing in your car? Like, I found myself the other day rapping Trolls.
Nice.
What is something that you were like, you know what? I didn't know I was going to know the words to it. It comes on like a Disney thing or like a
Okay.
kids thing.
Well, Marley's all about the princess life, so I
Okay.
feel like Moana is a big hit in our house right now. So that one,
Which one?
yeah.
Which one? The song, the rock one, or
Yeah.
the Find Me?
Oh, yeah. So that one, and then also Thank You, because the boys love Maui. So
Oh, yeah, right. Oh my
we
God.
do that, yeah. And yeah, sometimes the crab one,
Yes.
randomly. And I'm
Right.
like, okay.
How much do you know? Which song do you know the most of?
I don't know, honestly.
Okay, I won't make you sing it, or like,
all I can think in my head right now is the crab, like, shiny.
right?
That's about all I got.
Yeah. No, but that's, yeah, no. I was driving home from swim lessons, and the Trolls, like, I have the Spotify thing, and it's just like a DJ.
Yeah,
And the problem is, I play all these freaking kid songs, and the DJ thinks, like, this is my vibe.
for sure.
And so he put on the Trolls, Everybody one, and I didn't realize, like, that it came on and suddenly it was like a bop to me, and I started singing along.
For sure.
And then I started rapping, and I was like, where did the banana sandwich list come from? I went from rapping Tupac to rapping Trolls.
Yeah. It's kid friendly.
Yeah, no, it is. Very
But you
much.
can't lose your spunk either. So.
Right? With transferring to talking about Tupac and Trolls, since we have both worked in labor and delivery, and we work in a hospital that is known to be very diverse, what is the funniest name that a patient has named their child? I have one.
Okay.
And I know you have to because you've been.
Yeah. I feel like this list just surfaced again somewhat recently.
Oh, it did?
But
it has to be like the one patient. I have like two of them.
yeah.
It could be older.
Like the Ladasha one never goes away, where it's like
Right?
you pronounce the actual dash.
Right.
It's just L-A.
Yeah.
But it's and then had like a Famale,
Okay.
which was female, but that's not how we pronounced it. It was Famale. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I feel like we just get lots of high commas.
Yeah, we do. Well, the problem is, for the longest time, I thought like high comma is a apostrophe.
Correct.
For the longest time, I would respond to people being like blah blah, and then high comma, and then I was like, for the longest time, I forgot apostrophe.
What it was actually called.
I legit thought it was high comma.
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, no, that mine would have to be, just because I want to tell us, because everyone loves this. Did you hear about honesty?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay, so yeah. First,
was that your patient?
It was my patient.
No.
Yeah, with Casey. First patient. First time on my own. You know how like, so my thing was like, I'd walk in, introduce yourself. We had the boards, write my name. And then I'd be like, let's have, what's your goal today? She was like, to meet my baby girl. And I was like, okay, what's baby girl's name? And she said, honesty. I said, okay, how are we spelling honesty today? Because everyone spells things different.
Yep.
So I get to the board, and she's like, H-O. She had dash. And I looked at her, I said, oh, dash.
Okay.
I was like, okay, we're remixing it. N-A-S-T-Y. And I said, oh. And I said, well, let's meet honesty. Came out to the nurse's station, spelled it. Didn't say anything. I was like, guys, what do you think this name is? You know our nurses.
Oh, yeah.
Honesty. And I was like, you've been here for too long.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I love, it's creative.
Yeah.
It's creative.
I always appreciated Robin because people would come up with names and she would just be like, no.
She would.
She just,
How old was Robin? Was like 50?
Yeah, maybe.
Smelling like she was coming from Broadway. What was that? Patchouli?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that what she
All
would wear?
her oils.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God. She smelled so magical.
I know.
But like, it was like, she was, I don't know. Robin was her own thing. She was great.
But she could get away. Like, she just had that personality where, like, she could tell you like it is. And I would just be like, someday I'm going to be like Robin.
Right? What was that one thing about, was it herpes or something?
Where she would just randomly tell people, well, you got to take this medicine because you got the herp. You're like, okay. But I mean, she would tell people, "Do you know how this name sounds? Like, can you just take a minute to really like sound it out?" And it's just, I mean, she didn't
But
care.
they like welcomed it.
Yeah.
Like she had like honestly, the Lord gave like a spirit that like people were just like, yeah, it was like a
Yeah.
motherly, but also like I care about you. Like
Right. It was never like offensive.
no,
No.
it was such from like sweetheart, like she just cared about you.
Yeah.
And she just want to let you know.
She was awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
What is she doing now? Did she just
I
retire?
don't know. I think so. She kind of slipped out quietly before we
Seems
like
about
moved
right.
over to
Yeah.
the other
Seems like something
hospital.
she would do.
Yeah,
Seems
she
like
didn't want a big thing. I know, but I do miss her. So.
right? She was a sweet spirit.
Yeah.
She was. She was lovely. She kept you just
She had a lot of fun stories.
right. Oh, she did. And the way she talked too, that like it just made it even better.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Oh my God. Cracks me up. All right. Alysen, you're just a fantastic person. I mean, now people can see you, so they see like your adorableness and like just how wonderful you
I'm
are.
matching your shirt.
No, you're not. You're currently not turning red. But we're going to stop
Just
talking
wait.
about it so you don't turn red. But with this, I've always, so like, I feel like when we worked, we didn't get to like have too much back to back, like conversations
Right.
too much. We didn't get to like sit down because it's just
Patient care, rude.
It's balls to the walls.
People having babies.
Right. Emergency C-sections, emergency babies
Always
down.
ruining our catch-up sessions.
Yeah, or being able to bond.
Yes.
But I always noticed that when I was in your presence or with you, you still had a very like calming, but also like this girl's been through some stuff. But you're not like, you don't got tattoos on your face. You know, like you don't show like
the super roughness.
Yeah, you don't show it outside.
That's good. That's
you
good.
You don't look ratchet outside.
I mean, you did warn me we were going to be on camera. Otherwise, you may have seen a different side.
Right? But with that,
Yeah.
I know a little bit. So I've heard like a little bit of your story. One you've said, like you've talked about, you've been on Instagram about a few like hardships you've had.
Yeah.
Other, it's been through the grapevine. Not anyone talking bad about you, just being
it's
like,
fine.
oh, she's gone through this.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. All the things.
And I was like,
I don't
straight
blame
up, you could come back.
Yeah.
I'll come at you. I don't care. Right?
Yeah, sure.
She was like, tell the truth, shame the devil. I don't care.
For sure. For sure. Yep.
So this is not just a normal thing. Like you have gone through some stuff in your life. How did it start? How did you become the person you are? Did you grow up in Indiana?
Yeah, northern Indiana.
So what's that? I don't know.
South Bend.
South Bend. Okay. I know no directions.
I was going to say Notre Dame. That's about
All right.
it.
Notre
That's
Dame.
about it.
All right. Well, that's fun. Did you go to Notre Dame games?
Games, yes. I mean, like our school did like, concession stands and stuff when we were doing fundraisers. So like the campus is beautiful. I still try to get to a game as often as I can, but South Bend's like full of, you either love them or you hate them.
Yeah.
So they're very divided up there. But yeah, I mean, never was gonna go there as a college.
Well, it's like legit, isn't it?
Oh yeah, your girl can't afford it.
Right.
But also like I did want to experience life outside of South Bend. So
Right. No, I understand.
Yeah.
So, and how many siblings do you have? Do you have siblings?
Yes. So I had two brothers. One is passed, but then I have one. So I was the baby.
Aw.
Can't
Two
tell.
boys, and then you aw.
And then yeah, the princess.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. You own that.
And I'm like, I don't
princess.
know what's Marley's deal is.
Right.
But yeah, so yeah, I mean, I grew up there, came to Indy for college and nursing school, and
Where'd you go to nursing school at?
IUPUI.
Same here.
Yeah.
Look at us.
Yeah. Go Jags.
I know, right? I mean, it was cool because
Yeah.
we're around all the hospitals and
Yeah,
stuff, so it was
for
super
sure.
easy for
For
like
sure.
clinicals and stuff.
Yeah, and I liked it because I mean, it was like away
Right.
for college,
but not too like
But I
deep.
could get home
Yeah.
in an afternoon if I needed to.
And it's
So,
like downtown Indianapolis, so it's like
Yeah.
you feel cool because you're downtown too.
Yeah.
So you're like, I'm
Yeah.
such a city girl.
yeah. Oh, I like to rage, so it's really good for me.
Listen, you crack me up. So you mentioned your brother who has
Yeah.
passed away. How did that? What age did he pass away? How old were you? How old was he?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you take away nothing else from this, like a lot of people in my life die. And like I'm going to be weird about it because I feel like I just deal with it with humor because that's just part of my
If you don't laugh,
coping.
you cry.
But for sure, but also just like, there's so much about it you can't change, and this is
Mhm.
kind of where it is. And so, there is no way to like kind of approach it without it feeling awkward for other people.
Right.
And so I figure like, well, if I can kind of like make you laugh, even if it is like, oh, I'm super uncomfortable right
Right.
now, like at least like we can just come away from it sort of like, okay, I still feel like I can talk to you about this because you're not going to take it too seriously. Um, so I first lost my dad when I
Okay.
was 11 years old. And that was like just a massive cardiac thing. I mean, he went very quickly.
Uh-huh.
Had a congenital heart defect, but wasn't really expected. So that, was kind of the first sort of rock, I guess.
How was that, like, being 11 years old? Because that is middle school? Elementary?
Yeah,
High
I was almost
elementary?
in 6th grade. It was the
Alright.
summer before 6th grade.
Alright, so you're about to go into middle school and stuff,
Yeah,
and this was just sudden. I mean, you knew
yeah.
there was some heart stuff, but it
Right, he
wasn't
had had
that
some
deep.
surgeries, right, but it wasn't, I mean, for the most part, he was healthy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was unexpected. Um, yeah, we were all home, so like,
Okay.
goods and bads to that. Like we could all be there, but also, we were all there. So,
Right, and there was a lot, and
and my mom is a saint. I'm sure I'll talk about her a ton on this because she's kind of my North Star. Um, but very wisely in a mom moment was like, "Oh, hey, can you go like stand out on the porch so the ambulance knows which house to come to?"
right,
And
so
like at
that's
11, I'm like, "Yeah,
right,
right? Like this is I got to be helpful."
right,
Just really knowing like probably didn't need to be in there
right. No, that's
for all of
that's
that. So,
that's such a good, like, such a mom thing, like,
right.
for her because she was like, "This is not gonna help," like,
Right.
I'm here, I can handle like, I'm the wife, I'm the adult, I'm the parent, like, as a
Right.
parent, we try to, like, protect our child as much as we can,
For sure.
and she probably knew, like, this is not gonna be good.
Right. And just not telling me like, "Hey, get out." But more like, you have a job to
Yeah,
do and like knew that I would want to step up and be helpful. So, in the moment I was like, "Great, this is my role." And later I'm
right,
like, "Wow, that was really awesome of her to like recognize that was what I needed in that moment." So, yeah. My brothers were kind of in a weird place, teenage boys.
right,
Were already kind of a mess.
right,
So, that was hard because I feel like we all just kind of coped differently.
yeah,
They dropped out of school and kind of just moved out. And then it was just me and my mom.
mhm.
And so I kind of, for her sake, bypassed the crazy teenage years. I tried to be really good and low drama.
That's nice
Just,
of you.
I mean, I guess just how it went that I felt like she'd already been through a lot, and
Uh-huh,
so tried to be a, quote, "good, normal teenage girl."
right.
So
How did that make you, like, doing that? Because you were like, "I need to be this good or try to be as good as I
mhm,
could."
mhm.
How did that, like were times did you find yourself being, like taking on that protective role, but with that, like I'm trying to figure out what I'm trying to say, but, like, was that a struggle with you, like, trying to figure out because you were like, "Okay, I am I'm protecting my mother, she's already been through enough
Mhm,
stuff."
mhm.
Like, did you ever sometimes be like, "This is hard, like, I wanna be this teenage person, I wanna be" or was it just like you knew better, the Lord just was like
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I just, yeah, took on that helpful approach of, like, I just wanna do what I can
mhm,
because I know it's a lot for her. I mean, especially, like, with both my brothers just kinda, like, up and leaving the
right,
house. Sometimes they would kind of take turns, like, who kind of filled that, like, fatherly role,
right,
but they were teenage boys, and they were at a really, like, impressionable age, and so they just kinda took it as an opportunity to go, maybe not the path I would have
right.
chosen.
Yeah,
So, on top of, like, losing my dad, then, like, they got into some craziness,
right,
and I think it just sort of was just, like, the natural response for me to be like, "I'm just gonna try to step up, get good grades, do the right thing." I had a lot of fun. I loved high school. I had a lot of great friends. We did a lot of things. And, I think my mom kinda had that balance too of, like, just giving me a little bit more freedom.
mhm,
We tried to do more experiences. We tried to do more, who cares
yeah.
about money? Let's go travel. Because it was like,
Right,
life's too short. Suddenly that was like our family's motto, life's
right,
too short. So, um, who cares about the bills to pay? No, I'm just kidding. But it was just a lot of like, she tried to make everything the best it could be.
Right.
And so I think maybe just instinctively that was my sort of like part in it was like, okay, well, like I'm not going to really try to go mess things up.
Right.
The brothers are taking care of that for me. So it's
Right.
good.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's hard. I mean, I can relate a little bit with that from when I lost my mom. Like, we
Mhm.
just, grief, like, is so hard. It's hard to try to figure out what to do because it's like when you're in grief, it's like a whole different, it's kind of like a veil kind of over it where you're
Yes.
just trying to heal this,
Yes.
this emptiness, this sadness. You don't want to deal with it, which you probably should deal with it. But,
Right.
and you're just doing, and with that, like, I've made silly decisions in just being in the era of grief and
Yeah,
stuff.
for sure.
And so, yeah, so I mean, I get why your brothers would do that and
Yeah.
stuff and
Yeah.
handle it from there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do, maybe like faith probably played a part in it. I think there are lots of things in life that bring people to a pivotal moment of like, what path am I going to take here?
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe it worked in my favor that I was younger and sort of like it was easier for me to follow the right path
Right.
versus who knows, I guess what would have been had I been a teenager
Right.
in the throes of hormones
I
and
mean,
emotions. I mean, who
right?
knows? And
It's rough being a teenager and stuff.
yeah.
Or even, I mean, like even where you were and like about to be in sixth grade. Sixth grade's
Mhm.
when you start semi-realizing that like you're different and you're trying to find your place.
Yeah.
And then you had something like that big
Right.
happen. But I think what I've observed from you is that you're also a very like caregiving kind of person.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
think,
I just felt like I really like protective. I mean,
yeah,
that's still how I feel about my mom, just very protective, want to be there for her. I don't want her to like have to go through anything hard. She's already been through a lot. And so I guess maybe in a way like my brother's leaving kind of just made me feel like, okay, well, I'm going to be the one that stays and does the right thing and takes care of her and, she would just be mortified hearing me say all,
oh no.
Well, because I
She
mean, it was
loves
sort of
you.
like we're the same person, right? So she was
Yeah.
like being that for me, I was being that for her. It was very like we learn. I mean, I think it worked in our favor. We're really good communicators, and so like we recognized early on that like we sometimes had to take a break from each other
Yeah.
because we were like always trying to be strong for each other.
Right.
And it's like when we were together, it was like, oh, like we can't really get upset or like because like I don't want to make you upset. And so it's like we learned like we kind of needed to like privately grieve too.
Yeah.
Versus just like going through everything together.
Right. But it's so easy to push aside the grief.
Yeah.
It is.
For
because
sure.
It's
So
hard
much easier.
to sit in that, like, but we need to actually like,
Yes.
we need to grieve so then we can actually get through it and like
Yeah.
live our life and to see like, what the purpose is for this pain.
Right. Well, and I think just bottom line, like grief in general is so beautifully complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And recognizing that like two people going through essentially the same experience is going to be totally different.
Yeah.
And it's not wrong and that's okay. But just I think sometimes as a human feeling like, oh, well, she's not sad, I shouldn't be sad, or vice versa. She's sad, I should be sad. And it's kind of like you don't have to be on the same page. But not really recognizing any of that about grief until later
Yeah.
in life.
Right.
So
Man, with that, and then so you said high school was good. You had a
Mhm.
lot of friends, which I mean,
so many
you had
friends.
so many friends. Like it was
Basically
hopping.
the most popular person. Let's be real.
Well, no, but you had friends.
Band geek. I mean,
Well, you said
what
band.
am I-
What like instrument did you play
Oh,
in band?
girl, yeah. I did the flute.
You did the flute.
I did some alto sax for jazz band and pep band.
You did flute and jazz?
Yeah, I did. I was a drum major in my last 2 years. I mean, like
Drum
full on
major?
band nerd. Yeah.
What is
It's-
this?
I know.
This is you're
I
a jack
know.
of all trades.
Well, I mean, my dad was a band director. My mom was a music teacher.
Oh,
So,
well, other than that, can you sing?
I mean, I enjoy to. I don't know if it's like a thing that's
Do you know if you
done
sound
well.
good?
I don't know.
I'm not going to test it right now.
You can
but
ask
I'm
my
curious.
kids, maybe. I don't
I'll
know.
ask Marley. We'll see what she says. She'll tell the truth.
She, for sure. Yep. Mhm. She will not sugarcoat anything. So,
Well, that's good that you had though, like band in your family, because that is like an avenue to have and
Yeah.
have a community.
yeah, for
During
sure.
that time.
Oh, yeah. And I was, involved in sport. I swam and did tennis and did all the things. I was very involved in high school, and I had a great experience. So, But I think staying busy probably also was like a coping thing.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it probably was, but
yeah.
you did some cool stuff. I mean, band, swimming.
Real
Like,
cool.
your 2 sports you did do, though, like,
Yeah.
could cross over to, like, adult life. Like,
Yeah.
swimming, something that just keeps you, like, in shape.
Yeah.
Tennis, if you were I mean, you're not running a business but, like,
Mm-mm.
if you wanted to network, tennising I mean, tennis is, like, the old school of,
I
like,
know.
now it's
I
pickleball,
know.
but,
I need to get into it.
I know, but tennis is vintage. It's cooler.
It is. I was really disappointed. Like, I always wanted to play softball, but because I'd had heart surgery, they were like, you cannot get hit in the chest with a softball.
Hold on, why did you have heart surgery?
I was born with a defect.
What defect did you have?
Tetralogy of Fallot.
Okay.
So, super fancy.
Yeah.
Basically just a 4-part defect. They put a shunt in as a newborn. They fixed it when I was 4. Everything was good except for the fact that I wasn't seeing a cardiologist every year. My parents didn't realize that was a thing, but
Right.
it's cool.
It's
So
okay.
it was fine until I got to high school and wanted to do some sports. And, you do a physical and everyone's like, OMG, you have a murmur.
Right? And you were like, "Oh,
Yeah, it's fine. They fixed it when I was 4.
Right.
And they're like, well, you're going to need to see your cardiologist just like to get clearance. And
you
he
were
was like, you were supposed to be coming once a year, right? I was like, don't look at me.
Right?
I
You were
just
like
started driving.
You're like, "I'm new."
Yeah.
Like, this is on my parents.
Right. But I mean, everything was fine. I did end up having to have my valve replaced my senior year, my pulmonary valve. So again, yeah, they were like, yeah, no, softball, which is probably fine because I'm sure I would have been just terrible at it. But I still I love the sport and I love, the competitiveness, and swimming was a much better fit, I think.
Right?
So.
But still, that's pretty, like, isn't it, like, cardio-inducing? Or is
Yeah.
it more, like
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's still a good workout. It's just maybe strenuous in a different way.
You're not hitting balls and
I'm
stuff
not
like
getting
that.
hit in
or
the chest
thrown-
usually. No.
So is that why you couldn't do it? You would get hit in the chest.
Yeah, because I mean, your sternum's wired shut.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Oh, it is. So it's
Yeah.
wired. All right.
Yeah.
So
But
do you set off metal detectors?
I don't. No,
Okay, I was
not
just curious.
Yeah. No, I think it's probably.
I know people that have, like, metal plates, don't they set off?
Yeah.
So I didn't know, like,
No,
what this
I think
wiring
it's-
was.
Probably just a layman's term for some sort of bone suture. I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know.
it's
They
fine.
never really let me see.
I'm curious, George.
Yeah.
But it must not be too much metal because you're not setting off metal
No,
detectors.
I'm not. Nope. I'm pretty boring, thankfully, cardiac wise through all that. So
I mean, I
take
guess
a baby
you're bored.
aspirin every day. See
Oh,
the
you
cardiologist
do?
once a year,
So you're like a 80-year-old man.
For
kinda.
sure.
Okay.
which is fine because that's exactly me,
Right?
trapped in a 20-something body. Just kidding.
No, that's cool, dude. That's legit. That's gangster, actually.
Oh, it's fine.
Yeah, you had heart surgery.
It's fine.
Yeah, that's
So,
cool.
Now I'm just rocking this valve for as long as I can.
All right.
The longer I wait, the more likely I don't have to have full open heart surgery. So I'm like, let's just ride this out. See
All
how we
right.
can do. Yeah.
Okay.
At least wait till the kids get older, right?
I'll pray for you. Okay.
Thanks.
That's all. It sounds questionable, so that's going to be the Lord on you.
I'm not stressed about it. I
Okay.
mean, 4 kids later, I think it's probably doing fine. So you'll have to convince my mom. She's literally not convinced it's
Oh
doing
no,
well.
she's not because she's your mother.
For sure.
That
Well,
would
I
be
mean,
like if-
she went through all that craziness with me as a baby. So
She has trauma.
for sure.
And then now she's like, "No, you're not okay." And you're like, "No, Mom, I'm cool." And
Yeah.
she's like, "But you're not."
Right. Like working a 12-hour shift. She's like, Are you sure?
She was like, "How's your heart?" But like, literally, how's your heart? Not like, how?
Right.
Like,
Right.
is it cool?
Right.
Are you getting lightheaded? Do you feel like?
What's your blood pressure? Yeah. Suddenly she's more medical than I am. It's fine. Yeah.
She knows. She's been through this.
She is a champion. For sure.
Oh my God, you crack me up. So when did I don't want to like go and be like, when was your next hardship and
It's
stuff?
fine.
But
It's fine. Please. So
when was the next person that passed away?
the next death.
I feel like that's horrible. Oh my
death
God.
number 2.
I don't know how to transition from that. I'm sorry. Like normally I'm good with
I'm not offended. This is my life. I mean, again, I'm like, it's sort of awkward. So like the running joke is like, oh, everybody in my family dies, which is like silly to say, right? Because literally everybody dies at some point. But that's the joke is like, well, at least I changed my last name because before it was like if you were a Lily, you were for sure gonna die. But no, yeah, it's totally. So I mean, everything was pretty even keel for a while,
Mhm.
and then in 2011.
So we were in, hold on, when did you go to nursing school?
2007.
All right. Okay.
And I graduated in 12.
Okay. So this is right before you're about to graduate from
Yeah,
nursing school.
before my last
God.
year.
Oh, so much stress. All right. Nursing school. Can we
Woo.
just give out? Oh, I wish I had some alcohol to pour out for all the people who went through nursing school. Dude, that was intense.
It was.
It
I
was.
still think the boards were the worst part.
Oh,
The NCLEX
right.
was
Well, it made me real
worse.
scared because you can't like move, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, I gotta go pee, but I don't know what to do. And
If
like,
I
so I
do, I'm
raised,
never going to be a nurse.
well, like that, and I was like, is this computer gonna turn off? What's
Right.
gonna happen? If I raise my hand, am I not supposed to raise my hand? If it's for the back, like you go through all
Oh,
this
yeah.
stuff. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like you sit here and you're like, this is going to be my whole life. If I
Yeah,
fail this, like,
defining moment.
I mean, the thing is, if you fail it, it's still fine.
Right. But
Like,
I
you
literally
could
was like,
do it again. But
I don't want to study anymore.
I
So
know.
I was like,
dude, I was so smart though. Like, I remember studying, being like, this is the smartest I'm ever going to be. Let me just like, oh my,
relish this moment.
yeah, no, dude, we knew
Yeah,
everything,
had to. Yeah.
right?
Now gone.
Yeah, no. I mean, unless you are pregnant,
That's true.
I
We're
still
about to
don't
have
know.
a baby.
About to have a baby.
Mhm.
I mean, I can still do some stuff. Like I can still start an IV. I can do that, but like
Yeah.
this, like other stuff, like I can't do a neuro check. I can't do those. But like I
Yeah.
used to do I could kill a neuro check.
I mean, come back to work with us because we see all the things.
Oh yeah, because now
So,
now it's like I see, like I do miss
Mhm.
that. Like that is
Yeah.
something and stuff.
yeah,
Sorry, I digress.
you're
It was-
good.
We
You're
just
good.
all kinds of areas.
I love it.
So 2011,
Yeah.
about to be done with nursing school.
Mhm.
We get some news.
So yeah. There's like a little bit of a backstory. So
Yes, do backstory. Sorry.
again, I'm kind of an open book. So like again, other people might be like, this chick is crazy, but it's fine. So my oldest brother was bipolar.
Okay, that's a lot.
Didn't really, I mean, a lot of that community like have a hard time with that diagnosis. You know, a lot of these mental health things, a lot of people feel like they're kind of made up, just a way to get somebody on pills, whatever. So he was diagnosed with bipolar when he was younger.
How young?
Oh, I don't know. He had to be elementary school, middle school. And the meds they give them are just hard. They're brutal. They make them
Yeah.
feel like crap. They're constantly having to go in for blood work, you know, just not really something anybody, let alone a kid, should have to deal with. So, just lots of hardships growing up. You know, he was manic sometimes, super depressed other times.
So what does a manic episode look like? Like I've only heard about it from when we did psych and then my psych clinicals. How did your brother present?
He just was like, to use one of your favorite, he was like jazzed. So, he wouldn't sleep for days.
Right.
Just almost felt like he was kind of like strung out on something. Just very mile a minute. Like I remember when I was still in high school, one night he came into my room at like midnight with one of my anatomy textbooks and like wanted to talk about like stuff about the brain and just like completely
Interesting.
this is so crazy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's midnight. Like I got to go to bed. I got school in the morning.
Yeah.
But like he would just get in these cycles. And I mean, happy, go lucky, just crazy, bubbly.
Yeah.
But intrigued by everything.
Did it ever become like aggressive or anything? Or was it just like he was just pumped about life?
When he was manic, yeah. He was very smart, very curious. And so like that just like intensified. I feel like during these episodes. And then, you know, then he would sleep for a week straight and you wouldn't see him. And, you know, as he got older, he basically just stopped taking medicine. He kind of self-medicated with alcohol. He felt like he didn't really have a problem. Still, I mean, like a pleasant human being.
Yeah.
Just typical, like, couldn't hold a job. Took him like 4 tries to get his GED. Not because he couldn't figure it out, like, wasn't smart enough, but just like he didn't like all the like play the game. You know, like he showed up to the wrong room and they sent him somewhere else and then he just walked out. And, you know, just like things that everybody gets annoyed with, we have to deal with as adults. But like that part of his brain, he just was like, I'm just done. Like he would just walk out of a job if somebody like said something wrong to him. I mean,
yeah, that's hard. I mean,
yeah. So like couldn't hold a job, you know, all that. So basically he was about to turn 30 and he was living back at home again,
Okay.
drinking,
Mm-hmm.
but he wasn't an alcoholic
That's what I was about to
because it
ask.
was
Oh.
beer.
Oh, okay. So he
He was. I
Okay.
mean,
was he functioning?
functioning, yes.
He was never like diagnosed. He never got
Correct.
but you
Correct. But he would have like a 6-pack before
Okay.
like 10 a.m. or
Okay.
something. You know, like, I mean,
Yeah.
he was functioning. I'm sure his tolerance was up, but he was never just really in that like mindset of like, I have a problem with alcohol, because he was like, it's just beer. I don't drink like the hard stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, there were times he was definitely drunk, but then there was other times like he could throw back 5 or 6 and still
Be fine.
right.
Yeah.
So, it was just hit or miss. But anyways, you know, kind of knowing his personality, things he was going through, I was like worried that my mom was gonna like find him dead someday
Yeah.
in her basement.
All right.
And so she kind of made the hard decision to be like, you're about to turn 30. I'll buy you a bus ticket anywhere you want to go, but like you gotta try. Like you gotta do something for you. And so he was really, really into like Civil War stuff, like
Okay.
Civil War buff, loved all the history about it. So his goal was to hike the Appalachian Trail and then basically end up somewhere Tennessee-ish and do like reenactments because they're really big there.
All right.
He was very passionate about it. He loved it. So great. Not an experienced hiker. Just kind of willy-nilly put together a huge pack of old sleeping bags, tents, you know, stuff that like most people wouldn't if they were going to hike a huge trail like that. Over heavy, old stuff that was like taped together. I mean,
Right.
he just bought hiking boots at Walmart, just hit the trail. So, and while he was out there, unfortunately, he was killed.
Okay.
So,
did you find like what?
No. So he had like a burner phone. He would like check in with us every so many days. And I remember being in Florida with 2 of my roommates from college.
Mhm.
We went for like a 5-day vacation, and I didn't take a phone with me because I was like, you know, a college age girl probably dealing with some breakup, like, oh, I don't want to have my phone on me. So checked in with my mom from my roommate's phone. She was like, everything's good, but just so you know, I haven't heard from your brother in a couple days. Like, I'm trying not to worry about it, but
Right.
this is where we're at. Got back. She's like, I still haven't heard from him, you know. Then I like was out one day with my roommate playing tennis, and I called her, and she was like, hey, I'm gonna have to call you back. Like, the FBI is here.
Okay.
And so what it basically happened was some other like troop had like seen a body like off the side of a edge of a cliff or something that was like partially buried. Like somebody like tried to bury it, but like obviously some of it, I think, you know, nature and animals and all that probably helped. But so then they called it in. And I mean, they figured that he probably had been out there for almost 2 weeks before anybody found him. So
Really?
obviously decomposed to some extent. But they were able to identify him based off like tattoos and stuff that he had. They offered to like fly somebody out to but I
You were
mean,
like-
yeah, probably not the
You're like,
image you want.
Yeah. You're like, if you say so, I'm going to
Right.
believe
Well,
you
and like
because
they asked, like, does he have any like distinct marks? And we described a couple tattoos that he had, and they were like, oh yeah, this is him. So the trail is just a kind of an interesting place. There's lots and lots of people who hike it. Lots of very experienced seasoned hikers. I mean, it's a big thing. They have different like trail stations that people check in. There's like a lot of sort of like vet presence out there.
Okay.
Weird. They get like trail names, like as they like sign in, you just like, it's a community.
Yeah.
And so he had met people along the way, ended up with like a trail name. So he would like sign into certain things, and then like you can kind of tell like the
Where they
last place
went.
he signed in. And, super long story short, they like took some of his stuff, almost like it was maybe some sort of like wrap, but again, like didn't really add up because he didn't have stuff that was necessarily worth taking. So who knows? But, our biggest thing was like we just didn't want somebody out there on some like spree.
Yeah.
But it seemed to be kind of like an isolated event. Who knows? Who knows the story surrounding it? But just again, another turning point in life of like, okay, here we go again.
Right.
So
how did you deal with, like, what did you go through, like, as, like, in your mind? So you had your dad passed
Mhm.
away, and then now you've had your brother
Mhm.
now killed, and
Yeah.
we don't know exactly, like, how it is.
Right.
Like, how did that I'm assuming it would shake you, 'cause I'm shook just listening to it.
Yeah, I mean, a part of it just felt, like, surreal, right?
Mhm.
Like, you're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"This is" but you kinda just, like, go immediately into the emotions. Like, I just packed a bag, drove back to South Bend to be with my mom, go through all that, had multiple conversations, different things, like, with the FBI. There was obviously an ongoing case for a while. I don't know how many years later, I ended up, like, flying out to Virginia because they, like, offered a reward for anybody who had information and just, like, played into, like, the family aspect of, like,
Mhm.
if anybody knows anything. Um, but again, my remaining brother, who's older than me too, just kinda felt like we dealt with things differently. He had a very interesting relationship with my brother. They were kind of hard on each other towards the end. So I think there's a lot of guilt there.
Right, yeah.
Um, I had a hard time relating to him based on his lifestyle and different things, but obviously still loved and cared about him deeply. Um, I think that my mom and I kind of both instantly felt like we probably won't ever solve this, but that's okay because it doesn't change anything. Um, And he was kind of a broken soul in this world.
Yeah.
And so just to feel like he finally was at peace, at least in that
Yeah.
perspective of like, he's not having to deal with this bipolar and
Right.
his episodes and drinking, all that. Like,
There was so
just,
much pain,
yeah.
and then with
And
that.
just like being reassured, like he had met different people along the way. Some couple, like older couple, had like picked him up on the side of the road when he was like trying to get, to Walmart to do boots. And they like gave him a shower, all the stuff, like had dinner with him and like wrote us a letter about like what a nice young man he was. And like he talked about his faith and the Lord. And so,
Oh,
like, I really think and hope that that gives my mom a lot of peace of like, he strayed for a while, but hopefully was kind of like back in nature and his element and maybe kind of
yeah.
reconnected
It sounds like, I mean,
with some of that.
if he's gonna mention,
Right.
like, his faith and stuff to random people,
For sure.
which I think it's also easier for people to mention their faith to, like, random people
Stranger
that yeah.
than like family, for
Yeah.
sure.
No, I think so too, but that's still intense and stuff, but it's
Yeah.
good that you got to meet some of the people, like, on on the trail that he met,
Yeah.
and that he was in a good, like,
Yeah.
mindset. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't like he was trying to run from something, like
For sure. One of the last pictures he sent me was like a selfie of like him in front of a mountain and just like, an update. Oh, hike this, whatever. Like everything's so beautiful out here. Like I could just tell that he was like genuinely in a
right.
good place. Um,
That's real reassuring.
for
That's
sure.
I mean, that reasures me. I'm not
For
I
sure.
know not you and your
Right.
sister,
Right.
but
Right.
just knowing that it's like, I mean, we don't know because we weren't with him, but just
Right.
that knowing that, like, he was at peace.
Yeah.
It sounded like he was in nature, he was
Yeah,
doing
just
his
kind of that
thing.
hope of like if this had to happen, like again, at least it wasn't in my mom's basement,
Right,
feeling
right,
like he was not doing
right.
anything. I don't know. So
But yeah, so that's gives I mean, I think the Lord had that happen for a reason. I mean, not the murder thing, but the people. I said it and I was like,
It's
"This
no,
sounds
no,
absolutely
no, no,
that
no.
is not what I meant."
I
I
totally get it.
meant the like
For
him like
sure.
meeting the people
For
doing
sure.
this. Like
Where he was, absolutely.
right? Like
Absolutely.
he,
It was a gift.
it was a gift to know that he was, like he was in a good space.
For sure.
And he was taken care of. He got a shower,
For
he met
sure.
people, he got dinner. He
Yeah.
wasn't just,
And the stuff he would write in the trail logs, like you could tell he was really like enjoying himself. So
it just boggles my mind. Like, I do love the fact that he had this, this beautiful time, and these
mhm,
people got to see your brother in such a beautiful light.
for sure.
Yeah, which I think they got to see his true self. And I don't know much about bipolar.
Mhm.
I only can imagine, like, it is hard to
Yeah.
live with, to have a sibling,
Yeah.
but like that they saw him in his not being affected by his disorder, disease. I don't know what to call it.
Right.
Yeah, his
Right.
bipolarness. Like,
Right. Not in a not in a bad place with
yeah.
it.
What was your
So,
brother's name?
Scott.
Scott. So they
Mhm.
saw Scott just being
Out
Scott,
here. Yep.
just Scotting.
Yeah. Just scotting around.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I do think, God was gracious in those glimpses because as you know, as a mother, like
Uh-huh.
my mom really had a hard time with the guilt, and I sent him out there and I brought him
Right.
and it's just like,
You didn't know.
of course Satan's going to use all the things.
Right. Oh, yeah. No, definitely.
So to just get random letters from people who met him, it's like it just is a very
Right.
needed sort of light spot in
Right.
the grief. So
I feel like it's kind of like the Lord giving like I'm with him.
right,
You know what I mean? Like
for sure,
he is not here, but I was with him during his final days.
absolutely,
That's what
yeah,
that's what it's given me.
for sure. I mean, I'm hanging on to that hope.
Okay,
So.
yeah. No, you should.
Yeah,
You should, because that's
yeah,
what I'm hanging on to.
good.
But so with that, you had your, oh my God, these transitions are getting me because
Death number 3.
I'm not used to having some people that had so many like
Sorry.
deaths. So that's
I
what.
told you my baseline is just awkward.
No, I know.
it's
So I don't
fine.
know how to like transition to like one thing. 'Cause most of the time, then it's like I just talk about the, like
For sure.
this hardship, and then
For
it's
sure.
like boom, boom, like this one. It's like, I mean, the Lord there is a pain to your purpose.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
You are going to be able to like help so many people with all these people that have
Yeah.
no longer with us.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I always feel like I'm definitely lacking in like the evangelism part of my faith. Like I'm not real good about like meeting people and just being like, let me tell you about Jesus.
Well, but you don't
But
have to.
if I can live,
Yeah.
hopefully, somewhat by example,
All right.
I hope that it's apparent to others.
I would say so. So you just brought me back. We'll get back to your story. But it brought me back to yesterday. I was at my Bible study, and we were talking about John 1. And he says, the disciples, I think it's like Andrew comes to him and is like, where are you staying? Where are you going? And he says, Jesus says, come and see. And I feel like honestly in our Christian walk, I think you grew up in church too, right? Like the 90s, early 2000s, it was so like, you got to speak, the word, you got to save these people, but that's not honestly, like we're working with broken, sinful people. And I think the best way to like show God and stuff is have people just come and see when life is lifing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Because otherwise there are so many people that make Christians look so bad. I mean, I can name a whole bunch in my mind right now. And but that's with like anything. Everyone has some bad apples. We have a whole bunch more than some. But
for sure.
But with that, I think it's like you don't have to be out in the streets. You don't have to be like, you live your life.
Yeah.
Like I had one person when I was in Fresh Time with Vancouver losing his mind. And I don't know. I honestly don't know what I did, but I guess I love Vancouver. He was chilling, throwing a fit, whatever. I was speaking to him. I wasn't like, oh gosh, And someone stopped me in the next aisle. Was like, what you just did was so loving. The way you handled that, like, how did you have so much like patience and understanding? And I was like, I'm gonna let you know it's the Holy Spirit. I was like, that was not me. That was the Holy Spirit. And she was
For
like,
sure.
I'm not a Christian. She's like, but what you just did was so loving. It made me start to reevaluate.
See?
Wig snatch.
Yeah.
Like I was just like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
I didn't know I was going to do that.
For sure.
But I think it's honestly like we are humans, so we are going to just not do the right thing.
Right.
We want to, but like we're human, our flesh, we have pride, we have this. It's just I think being vulnerable and just being like, this is me. I struggle.
Right.
But
I'm not doing it alone.
I'm not doing it alone. And I have a Savior who died on the cross for me.
For sure.
And like died for everyone.
Right.
And you're not alone in this.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of people feel alone, and they feel like that they just aren't enough. And it's like, yeah, well, one, we're not fully enough until we have like God, but like you don't have to do this alone. And when you try to rely on yourself, there's gonna be a point where you just you're just gonna fall.
For sure.
And it could be like years from now, but there's gonna be a time.
Yep.
And the thing is, I just like want to look people in the eyes, be like, you don't have to do this alone.
Right.
You don't.
And on the other side of it, just being like, how do people go through stuff?
I don't know. Yeah.
Without it.
Right. We'll get to that. I mean, we'll get to you, how you did. But first, let's continue with the
death saga.
Yeah, death saga. So this is your third.
Yeah.
This is what I think it is. Is this your
Probably.
daughter?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's what-
I was like, I don't think I'm missing one.
Right.
I mean, there's been some like, extended family members throughout the
Right.
years.
But these are the ones that made the
Shout
most
out to all of
impact.
you, but
Yes.
these
We'll
are
see you in
my-
heaven.
Yeah, these are the most impactful
Right.
ones.
R.I.P. We will see you in heaven. But yeah, so these are the ones that
For sure.
change you, shaped your
Yeah.
faith, reevaluated.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, grandparents, stuff like that, like you can just chalk it up to like part of life.
Right.
It's part of age.
Right. It was their time.
Of course, it's sad, but it's just different. It's different, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So
I don't know how we're going to start this
I
one.
had my first daughter, Corinne, in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And at 4 months old, she was diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy, which is a progressive disease. So if you know anything about ALS,
Mm-hmm.
kind of similar, only in like the infant world. So muscular degenerative disease.
Yeah.
So
How did you notice it? I mean,
she had low tone early on during tummy time, wasn't trying to hold her head up, didn't doing anything. So,
your pregnancy was fine.
oh
'Cause
yeah,
I remember you being pregnant with her.
fine, delivery, beautiful. Everything was fine. Just
Okay.
probably about 2 months. I mean, like little things at first, like her wrists were like the first thing. Like
Okay.
she looked like she couldn't like straighten her wrists.
Okay. Yeah.
And I remember like telling people like, oh, like her wrists, and everyone's like, oh, stop.
Right.
She's fine. You're being, you're worrying about everything. Like,
Right.
right. I'm a mom. I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
So, she struggled like putting on weight. So she was kind of like riding that 1 percentile for the growth. Was a little bit low tone, wasn't trying to make much effort to hold her head up. And probably like around Christmas time. I mean, we had taken her in because we were trying to keep an eye on her weight and all the things, and we had like gotten different referrals. Like she saw an orthopedic specialist just to make sure there was nothing like structurally deformed causing a wrist thing. We got a referral to Cincinnati Children's just to kind of see. I mean, my pediatrician was very honest. Like, I think there's something genetic going on here, but I just don't know what. But she didn't realize that like the referral period was like the first they could get us in was 8 months out.
Wow.
So then when we went back for like another appointment, she was like, oh no, like we need to be seen sooner. So then Riley was able to get us in, but not until April. And this was like December-ish.
Okay.
So I think that time of year, she probably got some sort of little cold or something that just really kind of like kicked things into overdrive. She was like in some respiratory distress, flaring, kind of like retracting, but then she like wasn't eating.
Right.
Probably because she was trying to figure out the breathing thing.
Right.
But again, like we didn't know. And so like they had like put her on antibiotics, done, as long as she's still peeing. And it got to the point where I was like, I get it, but like I don't really care if she's peeing like 25 times a day. Like she's not eating.
Yeah.
And she's like already 1 percentile.
Right.
This is not normal.
Right. You're like, I'm not trying to
And
starve
then I'm
my
like,
child.
I know the antibiotics thing is like a course, like, right. But like after a day or two, like if it was truly something, you should see some sort of improvement.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, she's still peeing. I don't care.
Right.
I'm about to just lie and be like, nope, she's not peeing. I didn't, but I thought about it.
You were tempted. It's okay.
I did.
I get it.
Yeah. So then we took her in, did a chest x-ray. It didn't look great. And my pediatrician was able to like put eyes on her. And like, she was like, I think we need to do like a cardiologist visit, get an echo, do all these different things, like work up. And then she called me like later that day and was like, because she used to work in the NICU, and was like, hey, I talked to my colleague over at the developmental peds team at Riley, explained to her everything that was going on. And I think that we just need to admit her for failure to thrive. And then she'll be in the hospital. She can literally get all this testing done versus like 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now.
Yeah.
So I remember it being Super Bowl Sunday. The Bears were not in the Super Bowl, in case you were wondering.
Yeah, no. I was really worried about that. For those who don't know, Allie loves the Bears.
Terribly. It's fine. I am
Their
in full
toxic trait.
admission. Yeah, that's therapy for a different day. So I remember her like sitting in her little bouncer seat and basically like kind of like making like a choking sound, and like she had, like, was blue around her mouth, and I'm
I
like,
was
"What in
like,
the world?"
"Oh,
So we,
yeah.
like, put her on her belly, we're able to get some fluid out. But I was like, "Okay, she's supposed to go in on Monday." That night, she, like, had 2 more episodes where, like, she was kinda choking on her secretions, and I called them the next morning, and they're like, "Well, we don't have a bed." And so, like, by, like, noon, I'm like, "She's not eating. She keeps, like, aspirating or something.
Yeah.
If you don't have a bed, I'm just gonna bring her in through the ER."
Yeah.
And we were able to get her in. She, like, basically, like, immediately failed a swallow study, got an NG tube, her respiratory status declined. I mean, we were in the PICU within 12 hours.
Yeah.
So, did the full workup. Long story short, got confirmation that she had spinal muscular atrophy in February, Valentine's Day. And at the time, the only medication available was Spinraza, which was a spinal injection.
Okay.
So basically had to go through kind of like a
Like a
spinal tap.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
With our insurance, with the
Oh,
hospital,
Lord, insurance.
couldn't make it work to
Yeah.
get it at Riley. So we packed up our family and moved to Lurie Hospital in Chicago,
Okay.
where she was able to get the medication. We got her, there's like 4 loading doses, and then it's every 4 months forever.
Okay.
And we kind of, I think, knew early on, like, she'd already progressed pretty far, was requiring a lot of respiratory support. But we thought we're going to do everything we can to give her a chance and go from there.
Yeah.
Got a feeding tube, was on the BiPAP, was getting Q4-hour respiratory treatments.
Did she have a trach or anything, or is she not yet?
No. We were hopeful that we could get through the Spinraza, was the medication,
Okay.
get through some of those injections and kind of reassess. We met with the palliative care team like the day we got to Lurie, per
Okay.
my request, because I just thought, no matter what, this is a long road.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure she's comfortable and that we're looking at all aspects of this, not just the medical side of things.
Yeah.
So they were a huge help. I cannot say enough good things about them at Lurie and at Riley. But just really helped us navigate through a lot of difficult decisions. Got to a point where she was kind of getting a little bit worse. We had then just sort of said, this medication will hopefully stop the progression, but she's probably not going to get any better. So then the trach discussion came up a lot.
Yeah.
And we asked all the questions, will she ever not be vent dependent? Will she ever get decannulated? Like, could she ever? And it was just a lot of like, we don't know, but probably not. Like,
Right.
where she's at, probably not. So we already had kind of like grieved that like she's never going to walk. She's not going to really be able to do much with her speech. She's not going to be able to eat, which seems silly, but is a huge thing
Right,
emotionally. And then on top of everything else is like, P.S. she's also not going to be able to breathe without a trach and a vent.
Right.
So in her stay, she, what they call like plugged, like respiratory wise, and had to be
Okay.
like
Yeah.
coded essentially. Thankfully, no compressions, but just respiratory support. A couple times, was reintubated. Just miserable at such a young age.
Right.
All the therapies.
How old was she by this time?
Probably about 6 to 8 months is when we were at Lurie.
Okay.
So, they couldn't sedate her when she was intubated because of her respiratory status.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
like, she would just sit there with, like, tears. And they'd be like, I'd be like, can you give her something? No, not really.
Right. And you're like,
Tylenol, anything.
right.
Yeah.
Were you able to hold her during this time?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we did as much as we could,
Yeah. No,
for
no,
sure.
Right.
And then we were able to like get discharged for like on full BiPAP support. So kind of like a mask, which is a little unheard of, but we had worked through it, like I had training. So like I felt like I was confident in taking care of her. But we spent a lot of discussion, a lot of prayer, a lot of talks with other families with SMA, a lot of other people with, chronic medical conditions, all the things. And I feel like the Lord just really put it on me early that like this wasn't going to go well.
Yeah.
Mostly quality of life stuff.
Mhm.
So, I mean, she was just unfortunately hurting, miserable at such a young age. And I felt like, so cognitively, she was all there.
Okay.
So I'm getting told things daily. She's frustrated, like with her PT treatments and her
Yeah.
OT. Like, she's frustrated, she's uncomfortable, she's hurting. Great.
You're like,
But we
thank you.
can't give her anything.
Thank you, Captain Obvious.
So, having to like pre-medicate her before they did any like PT stretching because she was so uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Q4 respiratory treatments, which she hated. I mean, she just,
Yeah.
it's hard on her. And so we had a discussion with a lot of pulmonologists, like, okay, the things she hates the most are the respiratory treatments. And then obviously, like, we didn't want her to go through like plug situations anymore.
Yeah.
So I said, if you get her a trachea event, will she stop with the respiratory treatments? No, they'll still be every 4 hours. Okay, well, could she still plug even with the trach? Oh, yeah. Okay, so
Well, why? Yeah, like, why would I?
to me, this is not alleviating anything for her. I'm
Yeah.
just keeping her physically here.
Yeah.
So, lots of hard discussions, lots of tears, lots of questions, anger, sort of just like,
Oh, I bet so.
mostly like, I don't even like to decide what to have for dinner. And I'm like,
Right.
now I have to make a decision
Yeah.
for my child.
Right. Both you and your husband
Yeah.
have to.
And to be on the same page. Yeah. So I think I got there before he did.
Mhm. I mean, which I feel like since we're medical
Yeah.
based, kind of, we think through things, and plus you've
Yeah.
already had experience with like death and stuff. I'm
For
not
sure.
saying it's the same kind; they're
No,
all different kinds.
For sure.
But it's just, I think, and it sounds like the Lord gave you peace. I'm not peace, but like He kind of told you, like, this is there
Right.
might be something around the corner.
Right. Well, and just like I feel like the weight of everything when like we were able to just sit down and be like, just be honest with each other, my husband and I. Like, I'm like, I don't want to trach her.
Yeah.
And he kind of was like, I don't either.
Well, that's good that you guys released on like
and
that
again,
part.
I think I had already gotten there, but like to be able to have that conversation, and then talk to palliative care about it, and then talk to the team, and even the medical team at Lurie was fantastic. We just really truly felt like, there's no other way to say it, but just like that God had given us this peace and sort of like, this is not the life for her.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to have an opinion and thoughts and different things. So that's hard to tune out.
I bet so.
But it really comes down to like one of the palliative care docs at Riley telling us, like, every decision that you're making is out of love for her. And so, like, it's not really about you. And that helped me tremendously because I'm like, I'm prepared to take care of her on a trach, an event, every day for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Like, no questions asked. We will do it. We'll buy a new house. We'll make a room for her. We'll change it all. But just seeing her, her little light dim in the months.
Right. Because you still, even though like she wasn't talking, she wasn't like, you still, one, she's your child. She grew in you. You know her.
Right.
Like, it's not like you have to look past like yourself and you have to like think about your child.
For sure.
And the quality of life.
And to see her at such a young age sort of just lose her spark.
Yeah.
Because she's uncomfortable.
Right.
Because she's frustrated. That wasn't going to go away.
Yeah.
And so, had a lot of hospital things around the corner, but we were able to just say, we are going to take her home on this full-time BiPAP support, and she's going to prove to us one way or another. Like, I can do this or I can't. But we want her to be home, and we want her to have an experience as a baby.
Yeah.
In her own bed and with her dog, and being able to have family come see her and love on her. Take her for walks around the neighborhood. We painted her nails. We all got matching temporary tattoos. We let her taste some ice cream and really just tried to give her an experience outside of the hospital.
Right.
So,
That's right.
And then,
I don't know if they have tissues up in here.
But no, and then just knowing, going into that appointment, if you're sure that the trach is not the way, then like this is where we're going. So,
right. But I think that just means it's you being able to take her home and to give her that life, or That's big, and that's like, I mean, thing is, the Lord equipped you for that stuff, not
Right.
just because you were her mother and stuff, but it was like you already had some medical experience.
For
So you're
sure.
not, it doesn't scare you with that.
For sure.
And you had family there, and so you were able to like. The Lord was so gracious and to give you in those
Yep.
experiences
Yep.
and giving you the time and all that, that you were able to give her this life. She may not, I mean, like, she wouldn't be able to experience all of it, but she had that small amount of time where she was able to be a baby.
For sure. And
She-
that's, I mean, again, there's people like, oh, well, if we would have caught it sooner, if somebody would have caught it sooner. And I'm like, I had these precious sort of like 2 to 3 months where she was just a normal baby.
Yeah.
Like we knew some stuff, but like no tubes, no drains,
Right.
no monitors.
Mm-hmm.
She was just
She
a
just slept
newborn.
on your chest.
Right.
Right.
And I'm like, I never would give that up
Right.
for
No.
anything.
Right.
Of course, I still want her
Yeah.
here.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah. No, I
But
get it.
would it have changed things versus now I have that to hold on to?
Right.
And then to be able to take her home, even attached with all her accessories,
Right.
just to let her feel that she was loved.
Mm-hmm.
And people would tell me at the hospital, like, well, you're essentially taking her home to die.
What?
I'm like, yes, because I don't want it
Why
happening
would
here.
why would you
So-
want? Yeah. No.
So
Can't
again,
believe-
and we feel very strongly about families who choose a different path.
Yeah. It's
that
to
like
each. Yeah. No, I get it.
that's the right decision for you and your family. We would never, ever, ever try to tell someone you shouldn't choose the trach or vent for your child
Right.
or for your loved one, because it's not our family,
Right.
know.
And it's
again,
not their. It's not your. I mean, like, this is what you knew for your child.
Yeah.
I mean, people who have kids know that each child is different.
right,
And so you knew what was best. Like, you are.
right. And
The-
it was hard for a lot of people to come to grips of like, why can't you just trach her and vent her? And again, don't know how else to tell you other than like, we've had a lot of these conversations.
Right.
And this is not something we just impulsively
Right.
decided.
You weren't just like, no, it wasn't like, I feel like some people would have taken it as like you being somebody like, why don't you keep trying? It's like, no, this is not, I
Right.
know my child.
For
I
her
know.
sake, we had a limit.
Yeah.
We would do anything up until this point. And if she was somehow supposed to make it through that, then she would have.
Yeah. Like the Lord would have had her be that. I mean, like,
Yeah.
it would have, but
Yeah.
it didn't happen. And you have like,
Yeah.
and it's hard. We honestly don't know why God does the things he does. Like, we don't.
Right.
And we are so sorry that we don't have your daughter here. We don't have
Thanks.
yeah, you're welcome. We are like, that's the thing. Like, we don't like, I wish I knew, we don't like, we just have this finite knowledge. We're not, I mean, like, he's the only one who knows why he does the things he does.
Right. And in my Bible study recently, we've talked about how, some people look at it as he withholds things from us to be
Right.
mean.
Yeah.
But like, he actually has our best interest in mind.
Right.
And I, have heard all the things.
Right. I bet you have. I bet people have a whole bunch of
And lots
opinions.
of people like to say, you just won't know why. You won't get the answers to this side of heaven. And I totally get that. I'm like on board with that, right? Like you're right. You're 100% right.
Right.
And then my mind immediately goes to like, but I guarantee by the time I get to heaven, it's not even going to matter.
Right. No.
So like, I'm not holding on, for me personally.
Yeah.
I'm not holding on to a hope of like, one day I'm going to get to heaven and be like, thank you. Finally, I need to know why.
Yeah. Right.
Right? Like, I'm just going to be like, please let me
Right.
in.
Dude, do you know how glorious it's going to be to see your daughter in the
Yeah.
full, like, sorry, I'm going to start crying. In like her full glory, like who she is.
Her perfect
Like how
body.
you know how she is.
For sure.
Because that's how it is. Like
Running.
in heaven, she's
Yep.
going to run. She's going to be able to walk.
Yep.
She's going to be able
I'm
to
sure
move
she's
those
gonna run that
hands.
mouth.
Right.
She is my
And she love it,
child.
right.
For sure. But again, like, sometimes I personally go back and forth and like, I think as humans, we need that hope.
Yeah.
We need that promise of like, we're going to be together again for all of eternity.
Right.
And then there's this other part of me that's like trying not to lose focus of like what heaven really is about. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Sort of like, because I do think sometimes it's easy for me to get really wrapped up into like, I'm going to heaven for the world's greatest reunion.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's
I mean, it's a part of it.
part of it.
Yeah.
But I do totally understand that, like, we need that promise and that hope to keep going in our temporary life
Yeah.
here.
I think this world is a very hopeless world.
For
I mean,
sure.
you turn on the news, we all need hope.
Yeah,
We as Christians find our hope in Jesus Christ.
for sure.
But, people go other ways.
Right.
But this world, like, we need hope.
Yep.
And yeah, heaven is one. It gives us one sense of, I mean, there's several things that give us hope
Yeah.
when you believe in Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But heaven is one of them. And especially if we have people who pass away,
Yeah.
that we know we're going to see them again, and we're going to see them in their best sense.
Right.
And that's even
Right. And I don't think God would have alluded to that if he didn't know that, like, we were going to need that.
right.
I mean, they are living their best life.
Right. But they're not in pain anymore.
Right.
They're not.
But really, it's us who suffers.
Yeah.
Because we are stuck here
We
without
are.
him. But I
It is.
think, again, having that hope
Right.
of, like, well, I do know I'll see him again. So,
Right.
for sure.
And that's what, I mean, that's it. And I think my thought on this, your daughter passing away, is that she was not in this world for very long.
Mhm.
But we are, one, currently talking about her.
Mm-hmm.
She is, one, as a parent, I want my child, like, how you see your children, you're like, they're going to be a president, they're going to be that and this, we think really high. Like, I don't get me wrong. My son started dance, and I suddenly am like, he's going to be the next Derek Cuff. He's going to be on Dancing with the Stars.
I can't wait to
But
watch him. Yeah.
But, like, she's making a difference.
For sure.
Like, we're talking about her right now.
For sure.
And she probably will change someone's life from her story.
Right.
So
Well,
your child is doing something. She's
Right.
changing people's lives. Like,
yeah. Well, I remember my dad's funeral being packed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hours of visitation and, like,
Oh,
not an
Lord.
empty seat. Like,
yeah.
he was a very well-loved man. And it gave a sense of peace being like, look how many lives he touched. His job here on earth was done.
Yeah.
But then carrying that over to, like, well, what about Cori?
Yeah.
So, sorry, that's what we called her.
Uh-huh.
Like, she didn't have a full life where she sort of, like, got to know people
Yeah.
and her story reached people and her gifts reached. But still being approached by many people being like, oh, reading about her story and your faith made me go back to church.
Yeah.
Or, like, I said a prayer for the first time in 2 years because I wanted to pray for your daughter.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, she may not have had a packed house like Papa Ted,
Right.
but she's still, in her years, made an impact on people that she never even
Right.
met face to face. And so I think that was part of her gift, was hopefully just to show people. I mean, it's just
Don't
such
say
a
hopefully. It is.
well, it's just a hard concept in general
Mhm.
when
Oh, yeah.
a child or a baby dies because
Because it
it's not
shouldn't
the
happen.
normal,
Yeah. It
Right.
shouldn't. Children should not die.
right? And it's hard to feel like they had a sense of a full life.
Mm-hmm.
But again, she had a purpose. I think she served it. I'm really, really glad she's not suffering anymore.
All right.
And so it also helped me to really remember that, like, our children, as much as some of them push our buttons,
All right.
literally are gifts from God
Mhm.
and are not really mine.
No.
So I'm here to get to be with them and be a mom,
Yeah.
but they're really just kind of on loan,
Right. They are. We're just stewarding them for,
trying.
right? But even like, so our kids, since they're young and stuff, they
Mhm.
are, I mean, like, they have their own personalities and
Mhm.
stuff, but they, like, they currently are not leading people, like, they're not disciples yet.
Correct.
Like, as Christians, we're supposed to raise disciples to further God's kingdom.
Right.
But your daughter did that.
Yeah.
Even like you just said, with someone was like, I went to church and I'm gone for a while. I said a prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's crazy. Like, your children are giving people eternal life.
Right.
They're giving them your daughter is giving them, like, a beautiful quality of life. Like,
For
they
sure.
now are going to live eternal life.
Right. And again, full circle, I'm not really great at approaching people on the
Right,
street
right.
and being like,
That's why you got me.
how's
being
it
on
going?
podcast.
Do you love Jesus?
Yeah.
Do you want to love Jesus? But I'm like, if I can share our story, because it's as simple as, like, people, everybody, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you get, like,
Right.
well, I don't either. But
No.
that's the beauty of faith
Right.
and a relationship with Jesus is that, like, I know I'm not doing this alone. And so again, like, I might not be able to come up and approach you easily and talk to you about Jesus, but hopefully I can show you that, like, yeah, I've been through a couple things,
Right.
but like I have that hope, I have that promise, and I can keep going and hopefully raise up my other children
Yeah.
to also show that light for others.
Right.
So
How do you incorporate your daughter into with your other Marley and your
Mhm.
boys and stuff?
So Marley knows all about her, and the boys,
I mean, they're two, so
they recognize her picture,
okay.
and they'll be like, "That's Cori," and
Uh-huh.
that's sis. But like Marley, definitely is more inquisitive
Mhm.
these days. She will randomly, excuse me,
Oh yeah.
sorry, I'm trying not to like
He can edit it out.
burp in the microphone. Okay, awkward. Sorry. Marley is starting to be more inquisitive, and she will just randomly be kind of like sad. And I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" And she'll be like, "I just miss my sister."
Oh my god.
And so,
Aw.
like, that she knows that she had a sister. She knows that she died. She knows that she's in heaven. She knows that her body was broken, is kind of how she talks about it. One time she tried to tell somebody that she drowned in a pond, and I was like, "Nope, she did not." So let's
She
not
drowned
tell
in a
people.
Seems
She was telling somebody about the importance of learning how to swim. And
Okay.
she's like, "'Cause you don't want to drown in a pond like Cori." And I was like, "Well, hold up. Let's
were
not
like,
go telling
"What
people."
what kind of craziness are you kids, they say the darndest
They do.
things.
So, she did not, in fact, drown in a pond.
No.
However, she does know that she had a broken body, and she will say, like, just the mind of kids. She will, like if I'm sad randomly during a day, or like, sometimes like the anniversary of her death or something, she'll like bring me a phone. I remember one time she brought me a little play phone and was like, "Here, do you want to call her up in heaven and say hi to her?" And so like little, like
Right.
just little things where like she knows that she's not here, but it is very bittersweet, but mostly sweet. Just hearing her, like I had the best sister and I miss her and I wish I could see her again, like even though she technically didn't.
Right. She didn't. I mean,
think they may have crossed paths up
Right.
there. But no, so she's very much aware of her, and hopefully we'll continue on. We keep Cori's picture in the hallway between the kids' rooms so they can see her. And we've had like little books made and stuff with all her pictures, so that someday we have like a little DVD of like the slideshow that we played at her funeral, just so that they can see her, and hopefully as they get older and kind of understand more,
Yeah.
they'll really get it.
Yeah. No.
So,
I mean, I'm
yeah.
assuming so. They tend to. The older they get it a little bit more. Right now, they're magical thinking.
For sure, which is great.
Right. I know.
Keep that as long as possible.
Right. It is true. I know. Right. Oh my God, that's so true. That is so true.
Yeah.
It's just so with your, you don't have any more people that have passed away. Right.
I
was like, I don't
not
think
that
so.
I know
Right.
of.
I was like,
Nope.
girlfriend, I don't want to like before I digress. I don't want you to be like, hold on one second.
Also, definitely no. I'm just
No,
kidding.
I know. I was like, I think you're like,
Nope. That's it for now. Stay tuned. We'll do a follow-up
Yes.
episode someday.
so right. We might. Let's hope not. Let's hope not.
It is bound to
But
happen.
if it happens,
You
the
know
Lord
what?
has prepared you for it, and He
For
will
sure.
give you the peace.
For sure.
So with all this pain, I mean, it sounds horrible. With the pain of death, how have you found one with all this? How does this? Because I know I can say only personal experience. Stuff like this, it shakes your faith. Like when we're talking about it, we're not just like, and then this happened, and we were cool with Jesus, and we were like, yeah, no, we get it. We don't get it.
No.
We don't. How did you have a conversation with God?
I mean,
Because I know you had to have times of being mad.
yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think, I think maybe it's hard for some people to admit, like, I was mad at God. And some people are like straight up like, no, I was mad at God and I'm going to tell you about it.
Yeah.
To me, I've always felt like I just talked to him about my anger because I feel like he already knows my heart. And so I'm like, he already knows
Right.
what I'm feeling and dealing with. Like, I might as well just have a conversation with him about it. So I feel like lots of prayer. I did some counseling for a while just to kind of work, especially when I got pregnant with Marley
Right. That'll get you right there.
unexpectedly.
Yes. The Lord works in
back
what
at the hospital. I don't know how this happened.
Right.
So yeah, but just kind of working through the simultaneous grief and joy. And just like the unknowns and the what ifs and the fears. But I do think that like it for sure shook my faith in all experiences, but like at just a different place.
Yeah.
The obvious, I was a different age and a different space in life in all of them. I do feel like the death of my daughter was the first time. I mean, my mom and I obviously experienced loss together, but it was still different. So, like, going through losing a child together with Gareth was like a first experience for me. Kind of like, yeah, it's still technically different, but it's not because like she was our daughter. So that was different.
Was it different because you weren't like you had someone else? I mean, like you guys are
who
married.
like got it?
Yeah, who got it? Like you guys are married.
Yeah.
And being married, you guys are one. Like you're one. Like this is
Whether
you guys
he
are
likes it
besties
or not.
Yeah, like you guys are besties. We're working this out together. This
For
is
sure.
both our daughters.
Yes.
Our
And
daughter.
recognizing, okay, one, differences between men and women, just what it is. And then again, grief. Like we weren't always on the same page.
Yeah.
But seeing the beauty in that of like, hey, I'm really struggling, but like you're in a place where like you can be a comfort, and then vice versa. I mean, I'm sure we had moments where we were both like, this sucks.
Yeah.
And like we just kind of need to work through it individually. But I do think it helped too that we kind of went through the full experience together, like in a different light of like we kind of knew where this was going. So we had time to almost like pre-grieve.
Yeah.
And figure out like how is this going to look? How are we going to navigate this?
All right.
Did some counseling together, did some individually. But just being able to be honest with each other and sort of like recognizing we're not always going to be on the same grief page, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So we heard lots of like, oh, the statistics of divorce
Right.
when you lose a kid. I'm like, great.
Right.
I was like, please don't.
Please don't.
Let's not do that too.
Right.
And you know, now we joke, we're like, oh, we survived that and a pandemic and building a house and all of so like having twins unexpectedly.
Right.
I think he's stuck with me.
Yeah. Right. It seems like he's here for the long run.
Yeah.
I think you got a good one.
Yeah.
So how are you dealing with it? Not dealing with it, but like how are you working through it? Because I think when I listen to other podcasts or listen to people that tell the story, we don't also shed light on like none of us got healed. None of us are like not grieving still. Like it's you know, like how they say grief's like a wave or like they have all kinds of metaphors for it. But like this is a still everyday thing.
For sure.
With all the deaths you've had.
Yeah.
How do you lean on God? How do you lean on your husband, your family?
Definitely sheds a whole new light on like it takes a village. I mean, it's not just for raising kids, although it definitely applies. But just having that support, you know, people that really showed up, stayed, are still there, is helpful. Checking in. You know, we have always been really big on it's important to us to like keep talking about her, keep her memory alive. We went to like a grief group one time where it's just like parents losing a child any age. So like people who lost adult children in an accident, anything. And the leader, facilitator there was like, you know, people have this fear of like, I don't want to bring up your deceased loved ones because, you know, I don't want to like make you remember. But it's like, well, we never forget that they're gone.
Right.
And so talking about them isn't like bringing up like oh my gosh, I totally forgot. My daughter died.
Right.
Thanks for reminding me. Now I'm miserable again.
Yeah.
It's literally like hearing somebody ask about her or like hearing her name is like such a joy for me to be able to be like, I'd love to tell you about her and how bravely she fought even when she shouldn't have had to. And just sort of like the gift that we were given in our time with her and her testimony and sort of like how it kind of brought our faith stronger. I think having good people who are in a similar faith is helpful on days when like you need some extra encouragement or reminders. And then just prayer. I mean,
I know it sounds so like I feel so like
cliche.
Yeah, like prayer, but like it does. I mean, it gets me through every single day with my
For sure.
kids.
For sure.
Just that. Just that.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
I
Well,
mean,
just knowing he's always there. And so
Right.
it's not like he's too busy or like, oh, he's at work. I'll check in with him later.
Right.
Like I can literally stop in the middle and be like, oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind.
Yeah. And it's
Help.
crazy when you do pray and stuff, even when it's crazy, you're not, because most of the time I pray, it's not like in some like quiet space. It's just like 5 seconds of me doing like breathing kind of thing and
Yeah.
stuff. But you feel that peace just from
Yeah.
just that praying.
For sure.
Yeah. Like
it's
you just
that-
are like, oh, I just got through it. Like I got through the day. I was about to go banana sandwich on my child. And I'm like, I got through it. I handled it. And
Yep.
this is not me. Because
Right.
I know I would have gone.
For sure.
Lacey goes banana sandwich.
No, I don't believe it.
It's true. But yeah, no, and I think, yeah, prayer is such a big thing. It's so like, and it's so simple, but it works.
Yeah.
If you mean it.
Yeah.
Like if you're like.
In it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And really relying on it.
Yeah.
And yeah. I just think too, I found as I've gotten older and like through these experiences, like it just feels like God, and Jesus are so much more relatable. I thought about like a lot of times when you lose a child or a significant person, like it's very isolating. And especially
right.
being a young couple, first kid, everybody else around us is having their first kids. Theirs are living.
Right.
Ours
They're not in hospitals. They're not.
Like can be very isolating to be like, no one can relate. And then thinking about like, man, is this how like God felt knowing he was sending his son
Right.
to suffer?
Yeah.
And now it's not the same.
I mean, but he knows.
But just feeling that relatableness to being like, he knows my pain.
Right.
Like he has some idea of like the hurt.
Right. No, it's.
And being like, oh, he's not just someone that's there to like listen to me, right? Like he gets it.
He's not on the sidelines.
Correct.
He's not just like, you're not in this like wrestling match and he's on the side being like, you go girl, you got this.
Correct.
He's
there.
in there with you. He's wrestling with you.
Yes.
And I think it took me a while to figure that out and stuff. And it's funny you mentioned that because at our Bible study, we love our Bible studies. We were talking about like, it just hit me, mic dropped when I read like, he came down and he lived among us. He had he became human.
Yeah.
So with that is like, he felt hunger. He felt tired. He felt, anxiety
Felt
to
like,
the point.
Why do I have to do this?
Like to the point, he suffered from anxiety to the point where he was bleeding. Like he was sweating blood.
Yeah.
So like, people, I felt like I used to suffer from anxiety, and Christians used to be like, well, just pray, and I used to be like, I would pray about it, but I was like, the Lord doesn't he didn't suffer from that.
Right.
But he allowed himself to suffer from that.
To go through it.
To go through it, because he is God too. He came down human form, but also divine self. So he could have taken himself out of that. He could have been like, I'm not going to suffer. I'm done with you.
Right.
I'm not going to have this anxiety. I'm not going to be hungry. I'll make myself some bread.
Right.
Like I'm not going to be angry.
Sure.
I'm just going poof and you guys are going to be dead. But like he came down and he separated himself to feel our weaknesses.
Yeah. So that he can be relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Dude. This was deep. This was good. This is wonderful. I love this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
You're
It was
welcome.
good. Sorry. Hopefully it wasn't too drab.
No, I don't think it is. I don't know. We'll have to ask the people that are recording it right now and stuff and see how they feel about it.
I don't think anyone's asleep or
right? I haven't tried not to look at them. I'm trying to look at you because I know, right? But Allie, you're the best. Thank you so much for your story.
Thank you for letting me share.
I
Like I
know.
said, any opportunity to talk about her and
All right, and all this
all
stuff.
the others.
I know, but it's crazy. You've gone through all this, and here you are now.
Yeah.
And you have such a message.
But like you said, every pain has a purpose.
It does.
I am happier for it if it means that people like, oh, I'm not alone.
Uh-huh.
I have someone I can talk to, or even just like, I may never meet you, but at least like somebody else has experienced this,
All right.
gone through it. We can get through it. This world is temporary.
Yeah, right.
So-
This suffering will only be for a little bit.
Yeah. But also knowing that God gave us people and go through experiences so that they can be a light for others in these times. Like you don't have to do this alone. So like obviously he's always there, but then there are those of us on earth for each other.
He gives people come in his in human human form. You have friends who show up. You have other people. But if people don't show up, you're not alone.
for sure.
Yeah.
I'm never alone.
Yeah. You are not alone. And with that, I will end this. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.